Hi there.
Nice intimate group.
Ready? Okay. Well, good afternoon. I want to welcome the members in attendance to the community forum here at Redmond City Council Chambers. I also want to welcome folks who are watching on Facebook Live. The purpose of this meeting is to get your input on the selection process for the next police chief for the city of Redmond. Introduce myself. Again, Gary Peterson with Public Sector Search and Consulting. I was hired by the city to assist in the search process for the next police chief. My background is law enforcement. Did almost 27 years for the city of Martinez in the San Francisco Bay Area. And then since then, I've been a search consultant doing searches of all kinds, and my company now specializes in public safety searches. The next slide lists several of the searches that we've done. The Washington searches recently, Yakima, Washington, and last year our firm was involved in the Seattle search. So the evolution of a search process. So we have a slide up on the board that talks about the first thing you do in a search is you define the qualities and qualifications that you desire in applicants. So you do that primarily by talking to internal stakeholders and external stakeholders, and you can do it two different ways. The first way is if your search is time sensitive, you utilize internal stakeholders on the front end, external stakeholders on the back end, meaning the selection process, and that's what we're doing in this particular search. The search is underway. We already have a brochure, job description. It's been posted and advertised, and we've been recruiting candidates. Thus far, we have numerous candidates who have submitted applications, and we will be vetting those candidates, screening them, and then eventually screening that number down to a manageable number that we can bring here on site for a selection process. And so primary focus of this afternoon's event is to get your assistance in that selection process. So backtracking a little bit on the advertising, just so you know that these are some of the places that we advertise for the position, mostly national and state associations that support law enforcement candidates, and different associations that represent people of color, women, to advance them in their careers. Okay. So our first question of the day is, what are the personal qualities do you think are most important for the next leader of the Redmond Police Department? And welcome again.
Yes. Hi, Leo.
Hi. My alert.
Anybody want to weigh in? And for those at home online or on Facebook, you can provide your comments in that medium as well.
Well, question.
You here? It's okay. We have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Are you specifically looking for a person who is currently a chief? Or are you considering?
Good question. Good question. So no, we're considering a number of qualifications for the individual to be an applicant, and so our philosophy has been cast a wide net and then screen down to the very best candidates. You may find someone who is a lieutenant or a captain or deputy chief who have the requisite skills to do the job, and if you just look for police chiefs, you might exclude those folks. Great. Thank you. Good question. There you go, ma'am.
In addressing personal qualities, I would think that one of the most important qualities is somebody who has proven good judgment tempered with compassion.
Okay. Good judgment and compassion. Thank you. That's great. I'm going to pass it.
It says green, but it didn't sound like it was working.
It's blinking.
Jesse? Now it's on green.
It's all right.
This one, it's now on green.
I turned it off. Okay, thank you. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We're back operational. So other personal qualities?
I probably have too many personal qualities that I consider in a chief, so just a couple.
Sure.
Commitment to the officers. I think it's important that someone has shown the ability to commit their time and effort to make sure that the officers are taken care of. Some of the best examples in the state of Washington, from my experience, are those who spend a lot of time not just recruiting officers, but once they're on the department, they take care of them once they're on the department.
In what way?
Well, a good example was the chief of police of the University of Washington Police Department, a friend of mine, Mike Shanahan. And Mike, on events where the officers were out and about, was there. He was there, he made himself present, and he didn't do a show job of being a police chief. He actually made sure that the individual needs of officers, whether they had water, whether they had breaks.
Great.
All the kind of things that make it comfortable to be meeting the public as an officer, they need the support from the chief. Their health and well-being is paramount.
Great, thank you for that. Appreciate that.
I'll add to my good friend over here about being available to the troops. It's not just briefings, it's roaming around and somebody who really, again, has documented record of this is how they've led is by being there, being on the scene, being close. You know, those moments that aren't scheduled where he or she is good at interacting and you know, good at maybe getting to know that person beyond their job title, I think is very, very important.
Great, thank you. Other qualities?
I think somebody who has taken the time throughout their life to be educated on the issues that are facing the individual community, particularly mental health issues, and knows how to work in a compassionate manner with those issues that can come up. Also have had experience with working with the drug and opioid situations that we have in all of the communities.
Great, thank you.
One more, working with a variety of cultures.
Great.
And honoring all of the cultures.
Great,
Or anywhere.
of course. Thank you. You raised your hand.
So you basically,
Green?
splashing again. What did I do? Hello?
Is it working? Tap it.
Remember me.
Yours works.
Hello? Okay.
All right.
Basically, everything that you just said was about what I was going to say. So a strong, dedicated commitment to like a diverse population in Redmond, being able to see with an equity lens, experience and knowledge about mental health issues, drug abuse issues, and homelessness. I think that's it.
Great.
To add to that, which I seem to be good at doing, is there's got to be a documented track record for that kind of behavior previously.
Sure.
I don't think it's sufficient to say I will or I want to. With Redmond, the kind of community it is, it needs somebody who, as I said, documented track record for those kinds of interactions.
Experiences,
Yes. And success.
right?
A lifelong learner.
Lifelong learner. So education is very important to you.
Well, I have 5 children who grew up in Redmond. It's important to me that the chief of the department encourage the officers of the department to interact with the youth. It can't just be the chief.
Right.
It has to be something that's a culture that's encouraged by the administration of not only the city, but the police department. Because when you interact with the children of this community,
Right.
and they see you and as a positive influence, it's so important.
Right.
And there are just so many ways of doing that, but you've got to encourage whatever talents you have in the department to do that.
Right. You got to engage. Right. You want to say something else here?
Someone who is supportive at the top, that the police officers are able to get the help that they need with the issues that face them every day, the things that are difficult for them, that they can get the mental health that they help that they also need, and the support that they need with the difficult jobs that they do.
So like an eye on officer wellness. Is that what you mean? Like officer wellness?
For wellness for the officers
Right.
as well, because they're dealing with hard subjects.
Yes, definitely. Okay. All right, if we don't have any other qualities, we'll go to the next prompt. Okay. Talking about change, Redmond has a very good reputation. Police department's got a good reputation, but oftentimes communities want to change. What changes do you hope the next leader will bring to the Redmond Police Department? In the back? Yeah, just leave it on.
Blinking, 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2.
Oh, good. Okay, now it's good. I'm doing a little more research on this, but I think that there are a lot of new employees in the department, and that there needs to be regular meetings with people who are supervisors of different divisions. That used to be the way the department was run, but that has gone along the wayside. And so a lot of people are out there sort of doing their thing.
Right.
And so what I've heard is those people who have responsibility for divisions really need to be brought back on a regular basis, more accountability, not...
Continuity.
Well, no, being a leader who knows what's happening in the divisions and is holding the division folks responsible,
Okay.
but keeping them in communication on a regular basis. I understand that used to be a standard operating
A
procedure.
really solid communicator.
And it's not in terms of regular supervisor meetings. I mean, that's the next level of sort of management. And if they're not meeting on a regular basis, it doesn't seem like, first of all, they're conveying to the higher ups what's happening, what are the challenges, what are the emerging issues, what do they need. And then also what's missing is that those supervisors are missing out on communication on a regular basis with their peers so that they find out what's happening in the other divisions of the department. I understand that's not happening.
Okay, yeah.
So
Great.
it's hard, I think it's hard for most of us to really know what's happening in the department or not happening.
Right. Okay, other changes that, or perceptions that you have of the department that you'd like to see changed? It's on.
Sometimes it's difficult to talk about change. I'm familiar with the Seattle Police Department.
Right.
Being there for 32 years. But I saw a lot of change from 1977 to 2009, and now that I'm retired, I appreciate the changes as they were being made thoughtfully, with some idea toward making sure that whatever changes were made actually helped promote public safety and the welfare of the officers in the community. sometimes we get caught up in what's newest, latest, whatever.
Right.
This is a community that has the newest, the latest, and has a wonderful technology background. And as we adopt some of the technologies to make the job easier, we should make sure that we're somewhat selective in making those kinds of changes that are going to impact safety, not just the latest whiz-bang idea.
Thoughtful approach.
Some things are not well tested before they are brought on.
Right.
And so that's the kind of thing, if changes are going to be made, I'd like to see some part of the department devoted to that.
Okay,
And making sure that that's done right.
great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Here, I'll take it back. Anyone else have any ideas on that topic?
I would just like to see more visibility in the community. Maybe I'm the one that doesn't see them, and maybe that's a good thing. However, I see more fire department presence. You know, you run into them in the grocery store. The only place I ever see the police are at the library.
Okay.
And I would think that I would just like to know they're there.
I'd like to see more of a police presence in the community. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. It's good. Anyone else? Okay, priorities. What do you think the top priority should be for the Redmond Police Department?
I'd like to see the Redmond Police Department have more officers who identify as people of color.
So making sure you have a diverse
recruiting.
department,
Yes.
increasing diversity in the department?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else?
That's all we got right now.
All right. That's good, thank you. Over to the right. Over to the right. Other priorities?
While they're thinking. I can't remember what I said last night. So, first of all, getting to know the department really well, getting to know the rest of the city organization really well, and absolutely getting to know the community. And, you know, I advocate for, I can't tell you enough from my 16 years of experience about the importance of city leaders who are in external departments like police and fire living in the city, where 24/7 they are faced with what is it like. They don't go home. They're available
Right.
for on the spot. If there's an emergency, they can be there quickly. I know the department has changed the rules over the years about living within a 30-minute drive
It's
or a
40.
45-minute
40-minute drive.
Not for a new chief. You know, that's the only way he or she is going to get to know those three components, by being present. And it's not necessarily the formal experiences, it's the informal.
Sure. Thank you for that. There are some challenges around that with the real estate market the way it is, but I do appreciate that.
They're going to get a good salary.
One change that I've noticed over the years in law enforcement is that there are just a few departments throughout the state of Washington, maybe nationally, who participate in training by having officers well-trained enough to be able to train officers from other departments to share in that training. So if you're trained up well enough and you have the resources to provide training for your officers, attendance at the FBI Academy or FLETC or some of these other outfits, it seems to me that we should see more of leadership from the Redmond Police Department taking a lead in training other officers in the area, because even though we're a tight-knit community, we work hand in hand with Kirkland, with Issaquah,
Right.
with Woodinville, and all the rest. If they're cross-trained and Redmond takes a leadership in that training, or you're going to have a better police department who understands, where the departments understand each other when they do work together. And
Right.
that happens often enough
Right.
in this community.
And certainly that would improve your relationships with your law enforcement partners.
That's the benefit, yes.
Yeah, sure is. Thank you. Back. Oh, sorry, I would have taken it.
Well, it's probably going back to number 2, but I know that he's going to end pretty soon, and I want to get it in. I don't know if the department has kept up its credential with the IACP over the years, and I'm certification through the IACP.
Well,
And during my tenure, we did that. And I must say that when I was a new mayor, I had real reservations because it was a major work effort. But I have to say that as a result of being involved in a process similar to that, or in that process, that it really forced the department leadership and the department to be on top of what were the best practices
Right.
and to measure themselves against that. So I'm not so much into the whole process, but I don't know if they still get that
Right.
certification or whether they've given up on it because it was very demanding.
yeah, I'm not really familiar with the IACP. I know CALIA.
Oh, CALIA.
CALIA
yes, excuse
accreditation.
me. That's,
Okay.
that's what I meant.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Thank you for refreshing my
sure.
memory.
No problem.
But it was, I never really understood and thought, oh, that's a waste of time until I saw what I felt were the outcomes of that.
Right.
And how it pushed the leaders, the managers, and the troops to, push them a little bit more than they would have if they were just left to their own devices.
You really do keep your policies updated when you do that.
Yeah.
Certainly do, and your practices.
So,
Thank you.
I just wanted to
Let me
get
take that from you.
It was something I forgot.
Great.
It was CALIA.
Okay. Okay, and our last question of the session is what else do you want to be considered when the city selects the next chief? What other things do you want considered?
I think it's important that they consider what experience this person has had in their existing department or agency working with other adjoining agencies, like you mentioned, expecting to work with Seattle, Bellevue, Kirkland, and all of this.
Right.
What previous experience in a comparable population they've
Okay.
had.
Great, thank you. Hi there. Others? Thoughts? Other things that should be considered when selecting the next chief?
We've mentioned several times about learning and education and working with youth. I think setting up some kind of programs where police officers on a regular basis could go into the schools and have conversations with each classroom, perhaps, or assemblies, or things like that.
Right.
And maybe that's happening right now, but I'm not sure it is.
No, I do think it is. I think they have a school resource officer program, but I think they can always do more.
Yeah, as much of that as possible so that students get to know the officers and officers
Right.
get to see what the students are like.
Great, thank you.
Well, among other things, I'm a former teacher too, so that's, but I have, our family's involved in education. I think what she said is correct, that if you have resources in the department who have an inclination to want to share what they know in a classroom setting, there are all kinds of law enforcement courses being taught at the middle school area, which is where you need to get the kids. And there needs to be not just a resource officer who is present, sometimes in uniform, sometimes not. But if they have classroom skills, let's see if we can get them into the classroom to go one-on-one with students. If they have questions, they have someone they know they can ask about law enforcement,
Right.
safety, that sort of thing.
Right.
And that it maybe could be enhanced. I don't know. I don't know all that's going on.
Okay,
in Redmond.
thank you.
Stretch this way.
It's also a good pipeline for recruiting in the future, to kind of grow your own mentality.
As a matter of fact, I mean, again, don't know if this program still goes on, but of course, during my tenure, we had police explorers. And in fact, I think
Right.
one of our commanders, who's been one of the two in charge while the police chief has been in public works, I think started as an explorer. So that's when they're really in the department working. It's not just a visit.
Sure.
Once in a while to the schools. This is an established program that really gets young men and women familiar with the responsibilities. It gives them some responsibilities that are appropriately assigned to them. And I think that's where you grow new police officers and potential chiefs.
Great.
You want to speak?
Hi there.
Hi. Sorry I
So,
came in late.
no problem. No problem. We went through a few questions. First one was on the desired qualities we're looking for in the next chief. And then what's the top priority for the next chief? What you think that should be? And so we'll just start with those. If you want to chime in on any additional desired qualities that you think we need in the next chief.
I don't know what people already said.
Right.
I'm not even sure that this is on, actually. It's okay. I'll project. I don't know what was named already. I'm sure that you have a list of things that need to be looked at, like, probably integrity and, professionalism and things like that.
Right.
They probably have to pass a background check, I would imagine.
Of course.
That
Of
sort
course.
stuff. One thing I really have appreciated in previous chiefs is working closely with the community, not just with the kids at the school.
Right.
But I'm a neighborhood watch captain, for example.
Great.
Reaching out to the communities, trying to engage people, especially when it comes to things like crime prevention.
Right.
And I kind of saw a shift away from that more recently.
Okay.
At least that's my perception.
Sure.
And I think it would be good to go back more toward that.
Great. Appreciate that. And that'd be a priority for you as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else you think that the powers to be, when the decision is made, that they should consider when making that decision?
I think I know we brought this up in the last neighborhood watch captains meeting. A bunch of people said someone who can somehow or another represent everyone in Redmond, someone who maybe looks like some of the minority groups that are here in the city. And they mentioned there that they were already having trouble recruiting officers from minority groups.
Sure.
But that was a wish that was expressed there in that, and I'll just repeat it here, possibly someone who represents a minority group that is represented and that is present here in the city of Redmond, especially those groups who mistrust the police department.
Sure. Thank you for that. Thank you. Any other things you want considered? Next slide. Okay. Those are the questions we have. We do appreciate the folks that are here being here and participating and giving us your thoughts and ideas. We also want to thank the people on Facebook who provide comments and chimed in at the appropriate time. I'll be here after we go off tape. We can have, if you guys want to say anything else, it'd be great. All right. Thank you all for coming.